This is one of the most intellectually fascinating paintings of the 19th century, Jean-Léon Gérôme's Diogenes. When you first look at it, it feels calm and simple. A half-naked man sits in a massive clay jar, holding a lantern, surrounded by dogs. But the deeper you look, the more layers appear. The man in the jar is Diogenes of Sinope, one of the founders of the Cynic school of philosophy in ancient Greece. He lived during the 4th century BCE and was a student of Antisthenes, who himself had studied under Socrates.
Antisthenes taught that happiness doesn't come from wealth, power, or comfort. It comes from virtue and independence. This idea became the core of the Cynic philosophy. The Cynics believed that people had become slaves to their own desires. To them, society was full of illusions that distracted humans from living naturally and truthfully. So they rejected it all: money, luxury, status.
But Diogenes took the Socratic ideals of virtue and simplicity to an extreme. He believed that civilization had corrupted humanity, that true freedom could only be achieved by rejecting all artificial desires, wealth, and social conventions. He lived on the streets of Athens, sleeping in a large clay storage jar, called a pithos, and surviving on what he could find. Diogenes was not only a philosopher, but also a provocateur. He mocked authority figures and used humor to expose hypocrisy. When Plato defined man as a featherless biped, Diogenes plucked a chicken and brought it into the academy, saying, "Here is Plato's man." When Alexander the Great visited him and asked if he could do anything for him, Diogenes replied, "Yes, stand out of my sunlight." These stories made him one of the most iconic symbols of intellectual defiance in history.
By the 19th century, Diogenes had become a cultural archetype, the philosopher who stands alone against society. Gérôme chose to paint him at a time when Europe was celebrating progress, wealth, and industrialization. Gérôme's decision to focus on a man who lived in self-imposed poverty was a deliberate challenge to that spirit of excess. When you study the painting closely, you can see Gérôme's technical brilliance everywhere. He trained at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris and became one of the leading figures of the academic realism movement. He was known for his almost photographic precision. But his Diogenes painting is his best work by far. Every detail in Diogenes is anatomically and historically accurate. The texture of the jar, the tension in the muscles, the anatomy of the dogs, even the architectural background, all reflect Gérôme's deep research and control over form. He was obsessed with getting the material world right so that the viewer could feel the philosophical weight of the subject without distraction. He would have studied ancient Greek pottery to reproduce the pithos correctly. Notice its reddish-brown tone, the rough surface, and the faint chipped edges that indicate age and daily use. The dogs are rendered with anatomical precision, showing Gérôme's understanding of light, proportion, and texture. They are not idealized animals. They're real strays, their fur rough and uneven. Their presence isn't decorative either. In Greek, cynic literally comes from kynikos, dog-like. Diogenes was called the dog philosopher because of his rejection of social hierarchy and his belief in living naturally, like animals. Gérôme integrates that meaning visually. The dogs become both companions and symbols of his philosophy. The painting's composition is mathematically balanced. Diogenes sits at the center, framed by the circular mouth of the jar. That circular shape functions almost like a natural halo. It focuses the viewer's attention inward, into the darkness of the jar where the small lantern glows. The dogs form a loose triangle around him and guiding the viewer's gaze back toward the light. One of Gérôme's most subtle technical achievements here is his use of lighting. The lantern doesn't illuminate the entire space. It creates a small, warm glow surrounded by cool daylight. That contrast between artificial and natural light becomes symbolic. The sunlit world outside continues indifferently, while Diogenes guards a different kind of light, the light of self-awareness. Gérôme's understanding of color temperature gives the painting a quiet, psychological tension. Another technical detail that reveals Gérôme's genius is his control over texture. The roughness of the stone wall, the clay's coarse surface, the softness of animal fur, the dry straw beneath Diogenes. All of it is painted with different techniques, different brushwork speeds, and varying levels of gloss. Many of Gérôme's earlier works were about tragic incidents or death. In The Death of Caesar, 1867, for example, he didn't show the famous stabbing itself. Instead, he painted the eerie quiet right after. Caesar's body lies under the statue of Pompey, surrounded by scattered papers and blood, while the senators walk away as if nothing happened. Gérôme had this uncanny ability to freeze time and make you feel the weight of what came before and after a single moment. You can see it again in the execution of Marshal Ney. In the painting, the body of Marshal Michel Ney lies face down on the cold ground, his hat fallen beside him. The firing squad, their rifles still smoking, marches away in silence. The wall behind him is marked with bullet holes, a faint trace of what just happened. The scene feels painfully real and eerily calm, almost like a photograph captured seconds after the event. This was Gérôme's genius. He refused to dramatize tragedy. He made it ordinary, almost too real. After years of painting scenes filled with violence and sorrow, Diogenes feels like a breath of calm for Gérôme. Maybe that's why it stands out so much. It's Gérôme at his most human. If you want to see more art breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel.